Hi there and welcome to another workout for you to row along to. The format is I row a workout on this machine, you row the same workout on your machine, and then I keep you company with chat about motivation, technique, my dinner plans, and just whatever else comes into my head, okay? So hopefully it'll keep you on the machine for longer than you may have been, and hopefully you'll get fitter, faster, stronger in the process, okay? Now today's is going to be slightly different. What we're going to do is a 30-minute row at 20 strokes a minute and round about 2k plus 18 pace, which is about 5 or 6 out of 10 effort. Nothing new about that, okay? It's a great low intensity workout that will just build up your fitness. It'll give you time to work on your technique, your stroke and all that kind of stuff. That seagull is so loud, isn't he? Don't know if you can hear it, but crikey, I can. Anyway, that's what we have planned for today's row. However, I want to look at something from a technique point of view. I saw a video, Vasilij, don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but sorry if it's not. He sent me a video last night from a guy called Aram Training, who's a really good rowing coach, talking about a pause at the back of the stroke. Now this is something that I've never said is a good thing, okay? I've always said that you should come into the back, hands away in a nice fluid motion, keep everything in a nice kind of fluid movement, everything feeds into each other, it's cyclical, you're always constantly moving. Now this video made a really good case for why you might want to pause at the back. Now he tends to talk about it more from an on the water point of view, but it still has its uses on the rowing machine. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to try that and I'm going to talk about what he says, because there's no point in me talking about it right now, is there? So before we get into this, we're going to do a 4-minute warm-up. I'm just going to do this how we're going to row, okay? We're not going to worry too much about changing techniques and things. So in order to get into that 4-minute warm-up, you have to set up your machine first. On a Concept 2, that means going to your drag factor and setting that to where you want it to be. If you don't have a Concept 2, then please just set your resistance, whatever you have, to a point where you get a nice feeling from the stroke, but you don't feel you have to heave against it, okay? Next up, if you can set your monitor to eye height, please do. And finally, the foot stretcher height, if you're able to adjust it, get it to a point where you can come into the front of the machine with your shins pointing vertically, comfortably, okay? If you go scooting past, you're changing the angle of your attack, you're having to overcome the weight of your body, all this kind of stuff, which isn't great. Now as a guide, what this means is put the straps to run about the balls of your feet, okay, or the bottom lace on your shoe, the kind of the horizontally ones that go around the bottom. It's a good guide, start from there and then you can adjust from that point. Okay, swish, swish. So 4-minute warm-up, we're going to do this at around about 20 strokes a minute. And we're just going to start off with enough power just to think about connecting our feet to our hands, okay? So here we go then, in 3, 2, 1, go. So what I mean is that the power in rowing comes from your legs pushing into the foot plates. But that's nonsense, because it has to somehow get into the handle, doesn't it? But the point is that you are pushing your feet into the foot plates and sending that power up through your posterior chain, through your back, into your arms, and then your hands, the handle, and then that then connects to the flywheel, and that is how the power gets into the machine. But what it means is that you have to try and work out how to get that power in smoothly and efficiently. And you do that by making sure that you connect your hands on the handle at the same time your feet push into the foot plates. Okay? If you push too soon, backside goes right behind you. And you miss all of that, or a whole load of that leg push. If you pull too soon, you just can't get the connection from your feet to get that power through, so you also lose power. But if you push at the same time the handle connects to the flywheel, all that power goes through. Simple. Okay, so in about 6 strokes time, we're going to put one foot on the ground and continue to row. Try not to change your technique too much. One more. Okay, one foot on the ground, right on top of a drain. Continue rowing. Don't think I thought my positioning out that well today. Got a bit lazy with where I was setting up the machine. Couldn't face clearing off all the seats and things off my wee stage. and just set it up on the patio. So apologies, it doesn't look quite as attractive. Swap feet. There we go. So this should help. Listen to him. I was sitting right on the roof of the next neighbour's garden, or roof house, whatever you want to call it. That's why he's so loud, or she. This should help with your flexibility, because you've only got one leg strapped in, hopefully. Let's take one more stroke here, and then both feet in, legs nice and straight, and row with your back and arms. So you swing over your hips from a forward lean to a backward lean, and once you kind of catch the power with that back swing, that's when you pull your arms in, okay? So your back picks up the flywheel first, and then the arms come in, which is really important for your main rowing stroke as well, okay? Last one here, and let's roll to the front, arms straight, forward tilt, press out with the legs, and really try to hold that forwards tilt as much as you can as you're pushing through the legs here, okay? It's so important that you don't open your back too early, because that backswing, as you just found out in the previous drill, adds in power. Power you don't want to lose. Last one here. Oh. Okay. I think I should have worn the vest today. It's that real muggy heat today. Not that you care about the weather here. So keep on moving up and down the rail, have a quick drink, and I'll quickly recap one more time what we're doing today. Okay then, so today is a nice simple workout. It's just 30 minutes at 20 strokes a minute, and the pace is going to be 18 seconds slower than your current 2K time, which works out around about 5 or 6 out of 10 from an effort point of view. It may rise towards the end of this half hour, but start off around about that 5 to 6 out of 10 and then hold that pace towards the end. Okay, that's important. Now, like I say, I'm going to do this technique point of view, investigating what that video said about just having a pause at the back of the stroke. You can, by all means, follow me with this, or you can row how you want to do it, and then you can maybe look at, does it help you doing what I'm doing? It's up to you, okay? But I thought, I want to try this out. Why not video it? And that way I can come back and look at it later and say, that didn't work, or whatever. So anyway, right, you ready for this? 30 minutes, 20 strokes a minute, 2K plus 18 pace in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Right, so it's going to take me a while to really lock into what that the video was saying. As it is, I'm just not quite getting the stroke rate right, or the timing right. Okay, it'll take me a minute or so to really lock in on this. Okay, I think that's it. So the point is that you drive and then you stabilize at the back of the stroke, just momentarily before letting the hands come away and then recovering. Now, my preference has always been to let the hands instantly come away at the same pace I bring them in at. But this video was kind of making its case partly for on the water rowing, sorry. You can see it's all falling apart, so I'm needing to concentrate on changing my stroke while talking to you. But from the water point of view, it makes sense because you drive and glide, and then you kind of match the boat's speed as you roll forwards. So effectively, the boat is traveling under you on the recovery, rather than kind of going very slowly forwards, which the momentum, this is me doing it my old way, the momentum of your mass coming forwards will slow the boat down. Right, back to what he suggests. But his other argument is about tension and how if you kind of get those hands away quick, you could tense up your shoulders and your arms and leak power as a result. Whereas just holding and rolling leads to a more relaxed shoulder, which I think is about right. I mean, my arms are only about 70% straight before my body has rocked over and I bend my knees rather than being like this, primed, where tension can set in as I come forwards. Back to his one again. What I find hard though, hang on, am I back in now? Yeah, is getting the pace of the recovery correct. Maybe it's just all these years of recovering slowly that's doing it, that I still feel I should be rolling forwards over a 2-second duration rather than this, which is more like a 1 second. So what this does is, rather than the way I usually row being 1 second drive and then 2 seconds to slide through the recovery, this one is more like drive for a second, hold for a second, slide for a second. Now, it could just be the huge Nando's I had for lunch today making me feel a bit sluggish, but Got to say, I am finding this is taking a little bit more of a toll on me. Probably because I'm holding in that slight backward lean, and then obviously using a little bit more energy than I'm used to on the recovery. That said, my heart rate is down at 126, I think. It's not moving from 126, so I don't know if it's frozen. And my watch isn't turning on when I flick it. No, 123 on the watch as well. So heart rate's not up there, but I feel my breathing is a bit more laboured. That might just be just from holding it there and talking to you. I've purposefully backed off the pace by a couple of seconds, just so that I'm not chasing too many numbers, but also because I want to make sure I keep this a low intensity row. So that's why ordinarily I'd be rowing this at 2:03 pace, but I'm more at 2:05 today. Okay, coming up on 10 minutes gone. I mean, I see the value from the shoulders point of view. I'm also able to focus on how I finish with my arms. I can take that second to interrogate how I pull in and how my posture is. Am I powerful and braced at the finish rather than slumped and weak? So every stroke I can make sure I'm finishing correctly. And because I've got a lot less on the recovery, I'm hoping I'm not doing that kind of over lean thing that I tend to do at the front, where I have got myself into the position quite early on the recovery. And so as I get, hang on, gone too slow. There we go. So as I get into the catch, it's like I do a extra lean because I have time to
Whereas with only 1 second of a roll, I don't really have that luxury of time anymore. I wouldn't say it's doing anything from a performance point of view, but then, like so many things, when it comes to technique, you can't just judge it by one outing. You need to give it a few goes, see if it does make a difference. And the thing is, it's only for the kind of steady state, low intensity rows that you do this for. The higher the stroke rate, the less time you have to hold the handle and pause at the back. So if I was to go up to 30 strokes a minute, there would be no pause. The handle would just come in and out at the same pace. And so that's a really important thing to remember if you are the type of rower who wants to pause at the back, is that that's really just in place for the low steady state stuff. And also, the point of it is to stabilize yourself here, to make sure you are powerful and set up ready for the recovery. The point isn't to come in and kind of slump into yourself. Okay? You're not doing something like this. It's up, powerful, ready to just tilt over the hips, ready for the next stroke. So that's one of the reasons why I have always argued against that pause at the back, is that it can lead to a lot of bad habits, one of which is definitely finishing and then rolling in this position and not involving a backswing at all. The tailbone is tucked underneath me. I'm just leaning backwards. There's no core engagement at all here. It's just a bit of a leg push and a lot of arm pull to get pace. So you have to get those hands away and tilt forwards. So if you are prone to finishing and then coming into the front with your tailbone underneath you, it's really important that as you start the recovery, the hands go and the back goes forwards, okay? I've got absolutely no doubt at all that his guidance on this from an on the water point of view is spot on. And in terms of relaxation of the shoulders as you come forwards, pretty sure he's spot on there as well. However, he doesn't mention the inherent dangers with this technique, both of which I've covered, but it's about recovering with the tailbone tucked underneath and not having that tilt forwards, damaging your power and causing possible injury. But also, my concern is that people then think that that's how they should be rowing at every stroke rate, when it's not. This may be one step up from a drill, because the point is you row the whole session like this, rather than if it was a pick drill and you were stopping to concentrate on like every fifth stroke. But it's important that you know, as the rate goes up, the pause duration goes down. I've definitely slipped pace. I don't know whether that's just being a bit tired. Today was meant to be a rest day after I had a really long run yesterday. But then when I saw this video, I knew I had to investigate it before I forgot about it, or before somebody else did it. Okay, 2/3 of the way there. The lesser known Bon Jovi song. Got less than 10 minutes to go. I did enjoy my Nando's though. Julie and Jamie, that's my wife and eldest, they went to London for the weekend, so it was just me and Holly all weekend, having a weekend of fun. Went to the Wallace Monument in Stirling on Friday. Yesterday we went to the Edinburgh International Climbing Centre for their clip and climb, which is great fun. I love it. I'm useless at climbing, but I do enjoy it. And then today we went to see the Minions movie, and then went for a wee cheeky Nando's afterwards. And I always go for the hot butterfly chicken and the peri peri chips with extra hot sauce on it. So I think some discomfort in my stomach heartburn basically isn't as a result of today's row. It's as a result of all that spicy chicken. In fact, I had a very spicy chili for dinner last night too, so don't quite know what I'm trying to achieve with all this spice. But it's very tasty. I quite, not stupidly spicy, but just spicy while you're eating, but then it goes away when you're done. That's why I like. My neighbour, Gareth, has a jar of, is it ghost peppers? Can't remember what it's called. But basically, chili peppers that he picked up. Where he got them from? I think the fires of hell. And I had, I can't describe how small the piece I had was. It was like if you had a cornflake and broke off a tiny bit of a corner. Like really small. That's how much of this chili pepper I had. And for the next 20 minutes, I couldn't speak. I was like, just breathing through my mouth, trying to cool down the heat from the pepper. And he's like giving me milk and yeah, that's too hot. A wee bit of spice is nice, but when you can't speak because it's so hot, and not so much. I keep on finding that I'm slipping and going back into my old stroke here. I'm really looking forward to checking out the video in the edit suite after this, just to see whether this technique does anything to tidy up the slight power leaks that I have. Namely, like I say, there's the over lean at the front that I have, which is not only problematic because it shifts my angle of attack, but also because it sends my backside out from underneath me. If you watch pretty much all of my videos, you'll see this strange kind of wobble to the seat as I come forwards and then get set to drive into the next stroke. And so what I'm hoping is that because I have less time for the recovery, that the turnaround from the slide into the catch to the drive of the next stroke is sharper. I don't have those kind of 1/2 of a second where my backside escapes from underneath me. Because remember, pretty much all of the technique stuff I talk about is stuff I'm trying to do myself. I am not a professional rower. I only came to this about 10 years ago, and I've been a work in progress ever since. And then about 5 years ago, when I had to take an extended period of time off after cutting my hand quite badly, myriad issues crept in to my stroke, namely the butt scoot, kind of a rounding of the upper back caused by this overlean, and then more recently something weird with my sacroiliac joint, which is still grumbling away and is really affecting my hip flexibility at the front as I come in to the catch. At least I've stopped opening my knees out too much now. There was a period where my knees would come outside my elbows after the SI joint issue. Hopefully I've kept them more under my armpits to date. Now what I don't know is whether all this focus has meant I'm swinging my back too soon again. Again, one for the edit suite. Okay, 4 strokes to go. 2 more. Last one. So, even though I wasn't entirely comfortable doing it, and even though I was slipping pace-wise, I'm not actually going to blame that on adopting that style of stroke. Certainly not after one session, and certainly not with a big cheeky Nando's inside my stomach. So could be loads of reasons why my pace slipped. I mean, by the end of that I was down at 2:08 pace, so I basically slipped 3 seconds off the pace that I'd already slipped 2 seconds off. So not ideal from a pace point of view, but when you try something new, your pace can suffer. So again, this is what I often say. In fact, tell you what, let's get into a 2-minute cooldown, okay? Basically the same pace that you did your warm-up at, around about 20 strokes a minute. Just enough of a push that you can feel your body connecting, and you can just help your body calm down. You shouldn't be too destroyed after that half-hour row anyway, so this should just be like a 2-minute just to let yourself flush yourself through, okay? Here we go then in 3, 2, 1, go. And I've completely forgotten what the point was that I was making. It's totally gone. Was I talking about going fast? No? Fuck. Well, that's embarrassing. I've totally forgotten what it was I was talking about. I'm sure it was something to do with... Oh yeah, I know what it was. Phew. Swinging the back. So I recently made a video, and I've always, even towards the end of today's row, I've always maintained that it's really important to hold that forward pitch, that tilt forwards, and then you push in your legs, arms straight, holding that forward tilt, and then when your legs are about halfway, you swing from a forwards to backwards tilt, okay? because not only does that help the power from your legs go up through your body and into your arms, when you do swing your back into that backward lean, that movement of your upper body, all that mass adds in power. Check out the video I made if you don't really grasp what I'm on about. Basically just says, I think it's on like one move to row faster. I think that's what I called it. I'll throw it up in the thumbnail at the end. But I know so many people that will try a technique like that once. They'll either not be comfortable, or they'll see that they're rowing a couple of seconds slower, and then they'll just say, nope, that doesn't work for me, I'm not doing that. And they'll go back to rowing without their back, just because they've tested it once. There you go, I'm done on the cool down. You do not have to stop cooling down. So with this thing today, for the low rate, low intensity, steady state stuff, I'm going to incorporate this pause at the back to see if it helps, and then investigate it through the rest of the rowing as well, just to see if it makes a difference. I can always just go back to how I was. So that's the good thing. I can just go back to that. So, right, I'll continue talking in a second, but now that we're done with the cool down, you might want to do some stretching. Now, if you have to go into the shower and whatever, then fine. Make sure and stretch your quads and hamstrings and whatever, but don't do it in the shower. I don't want you to slip and fall. However, if you have around about 6 minutes still to spend with me, then Stretchy John has just appeared. Now, although he's doing it on a mat, you can do pretty much all of the moves that he does, either sitting on the machine or straddling the machine, okay? So hamstrings, just put your feet in here, fold forwards, and go like that. And then when it comes to doing the glutes, put one leg on, cross that one over, and then steady yourself at the back, okay? And pull that one across. And that way you will, I'm going to do the glute stretch while I talk to you. That might help my SI joint. Yeah, so anyway, so you can do either on a mat like he's showing you, or you can do most of them sitting or just standing next to the machine if you don't have the space. Yeah, so as much as from a technique point of view, I always talk about it to try and improve my own technique, I'm also not so close-minded that I'm going to say, well, you know what, for the past 4 years I've been telling you to come in and straight back out with the hands. And so therefore, because I told you that for 4 years, even though I've read something that says to do different, I'm not going to say, oh, no, I never do that. Of course I'm going to try it and see if it works. I think to be completely closed off to something like that is just daft. It could well be that just at the low intensities, that, like I say, maybe that's going to be what irons out these little kinks that I have in my stroke at that kind of low steady state intensity. So that then when I do get up into the stroke rate and start rowing at like 30 strokes a minute, and I'm no longer holding the handle against my chest, I'm like in a racing position and I'm kind of going fast. Because by now I've reprogrammed, good grief, because I've reprogrammed my muscle memory to not have that little trigger, the kind of the butt scoot at the front, because of all the low intensity stuff, which is why we row so much low intensity meters after all, then it's a good thing. The whole point is to try and, well, for me anyway, the whole point of why I row is to then be able to go fast when it comes to challenges or races or whatever I'm doing, or to be like more efficient. So like the previous videos I've been making about the high rocks thing, which I'm considering whether to enter into a high rocks competition. The reason I'm saying considering is that if I did it, I'd have to throw lots and lots of training at it to a point that I then probably put on some muscle that would then take me out of the lightweight for rowing. I'd be then over 75 kilograms, and so I wouldn't be able to compete in like online challenges as a lightweight, or there'd be absolutely no point me go to like the World Indoor Rowing Championships, because at my age as a heavyweight I'm up against some people that can all still row sub-6, and that's not me. So as a lightweight I'm fast-ish, but as a heavyweight I'm not fast. So anyway, so that's why it's like I'm considering whether to do. I love the training for high rocks, it's fantastic. Throwing in the broad bungee jumps and sandbag lunges and all that kind of stuff is amazing. But actually, if I were to compete and to train enough to feel I could compete in one of them without making an embarrassment of myself, it'd probably blow my indoor rowing dreams for a while. But then after injury, like I say, with my hand getting cut, my indoor rowing dreams have been blown for the past 4 years anyway. So maybe by doing high rocks I could then unlock my love for coming back into competing again. So, or at least it's not the love, it's the, what I'm trying to think. My issue is basically that when it gets to the top end, that line that you need to push through when you're breathing out your eyes, okay, you're absolutely exhausted, everything's on fire, and you still have 500 meters to go, okay? That line that you need to cross in order to be able to win, in order to be able to get your PB and whatever, that line is getting harder and harder for me to want to push through. Whether it's just that I've done it so many times, or whether it's just, I don't know, fear of injury. I'm working on it from a mindset point of view. But it could well be that because in high rocks training and event stuff, you're just at that top end all the time, that actually all the training for that could then be what I need to unlock that mental state to then kind of actually find a 2K row easy compared to an hour 15 of high rocks events. So we'll see. That's why I'm kind of looking at that. And also it gives me more stuff to talk about, more videos to make for this channel, and hopefully more people will then come and watch these videos, and we'll all be well together. Hey, so anyway, right. So I've got sweat in my eyes again. Peace. The seagulls finally shut up. I should really just start this entire video all over again so we can try and do it without it squawking away. Don't know why we get, like, it's going to run about now. This is the end of July. And it just, every year we suddenly get loads of seagulls around here. Or gulls, because there's no sea, so it's just gulls. But yeah, anyway, right, okay. And then since I'm talking about birds, I think it's probably time I went. So let me know how you got on. Did you try doing the pause as well? Did you find it easy? Do you find it helped? Do you think it's going to be something that you're going to continue doing? Do you think it's probably going to be more damaging if you're trying to work on other elements of your stroke anyway? What I do recommend is, if you're going to do it, video yourself as well and have a look. Maybe even video yourself doing it the way you normally row, and then do it again, doing the pause, and then see if there's any difference at all. And then you can kind of look and see if it helps your stroke, because that's certainly what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at this video afterwards. So anyway, I said I was going to be done about a minute ago, and I'm not done, so I should really stop. So thank you so much for being part of this one. I do hope you enjoyed it. It was just, listen, it was a good way to row 30 minutes if nothing else. So good amount of calories burnt, and yeah, and fitness boosted. Tick. Well done. So I will see you in a future video. In the meantime, please look after yourselves. Be well. Bye-bye.